Hi, this is Len Furman, the sports time traveler, bringing you another article I'm very excited about. It's the conclusion of the championship of basketball in 1964. This episode is titled The 1964 NBA Finals Part 2, Russell versus Chamberlain, the conclusion of the first finals battle between the two great big men. I start with an introduction from the sports time traveler. Last week, I shared the story of the opening three games of the 1964 NBA Finals in the article titled The 1964 NBA Finals Part 1. This was an epic championship series, as it was the first time that Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain played against each other in the NBA Finals. Both big men were in their prime. Russell was 30 years old and Wilt was 27. You can read or listen to Part 1 in the link I have in the written version of the Substack article. Here's a recap of the first three games. The Boston Celtics captured the first two games in Boston as the Celtics whipped the weary Warriors, who hadn't wrapped up the Western Division Series until the early morning hours of Friday, April 17th Eastern Time, and then had to fly cross-country for Game 1 of the championship on Saturday, April 18th against the rested Celtics, who had 8 days off. The fact that Wilt was held to just 22 points in Game 1, he averaged 37 during the season, attests to the state of the Warriors in Game 1. In addition, Guy Rodgers, their star point guard, dislocated his thumb in Game 1 and missed all his shots, and played just 13 minutes while wearing a cast in Game 2. But back in San Francisco for Game 3, the Warriors wiped out any thought that this would be a sweep or an easy series for the Celtics. The Warriors raced out to a 40-21 first quarter lead and blew out Boston. The game was never close. This was the setup for Game 4. It was an opportunity for San Francisco to even the series at 2 games apiece. Naturally, the sports time traveler had to travel virtually to San Francisco again to experience Game 4 and the remainder of the series. Here's my report. San Francisco, April 25th, 1964. Last night, I was in the Cow Palace in San Francisco, virtually, to experience Game 4 of the 1964 NBA Finals between the Boston Celtics and the San Francisco Warriors. The Celtics appeared to have this series in hand after Games 1 and 2, but with the Warriors' decisive victory in Game 3, the Celtics have to be wondering if they can win a championship without Bob Cousy. Cousy had retired after the Celtics won their 5th straight NBA title last year in 1963. Game 4 would be a statement game for both teams. The Warriors started out well and held a 24-17 advantage at the end of the first quarter. Early in the second quarter, the Warriors extended the lead to double digits at 30-20. The Celtics came back, and at halftime, they had cut the Warriors' lead to just 4 points at 44-40. Most of the credit for the Warriors' lead had to go to Chamberlain. Although he was held to just 10 points by the Celtics' defense, Wilt pulled down 19 rebounds in the first half to just 7 for Russell. But there was trouble for the Warriors. Starting guard Attles had 4 fouls already. You can actually watch the entire second half of Game 4 in a YouTube video I have posted in the written version of this Substack article. Here's my commentary on the game with the timestamps from the video. At the 25-second mark, watch as Tom Meschery of the Warriors hits a jump shot to open the second half, and the Warriors go ahead by 6 at 46-40. Notice that number 7, Gary Phillips, has started at guard for the Warriors in the second half in place of the foul-plagued Attles. At the 1:10 mark on the tape, Wilt goes to the foul line. He shoots his free throws underhanded in 1964, and he misses. Wilt missed 21 of his 34 free throws in games 1-3 of the series. At the 2:35 mark on the tape, Wilt grabs a rebound in traffic, stuffs the ball, and gets fouled. Watch referee Norm Drucker make the most animated call I've ever seen as he runs in sideways from the baseline with a repeating windmill arm motion. This is definitely worth taking a look at. Drucker has called off the shot. Wilt goes to the foul line for one shot and misses again, but the Warriors still lead 48-46. At the 4:18 mark on the tape, Wilt makes one of his patented turnaround fallaway jumpers over Russell. Warriors are ahead 50-47. At 5:05 on the tape, Wilt rebounds a Guy Rodgers miss and stuffs it over Russell. Warriors lead 52-47. At the 6-minute mark on the tape, Sam Jones makes his second jumper in a minute, and the Celtics have narrowed the Warriors' lead to a single point at 52-51 with 6:55 remaining in the third quarter. At the 7-minute mark, Tom Heinsohn hits a runner in the lane and gets fouled. He makes the free throw, and the Celtics forge their first lead of the game at 54-52. At 8:10 on the tape, watch as Sam Jones misses a shot at the top of the key, but Heinsohn tips it in. Then stick with the tape as the Warriors' Gary Phillips, playing for Attles, gets stripped of the ball in the backcourt by Sam Jones, who drives in for a layup and is fouled. He nails the free throw, and suddenly the Celtics are up by 6 at 59-53. At 10:05 on the tape, Heinsohn on a mid-range jumper. Celtics lead 61-55. At 11:28 on the tape, Heinsohn makes a short jumper from the baseline. Celtics lead 63-56. At 13:25 on the tape, Heinsohn again on a running hook shot. 13:50 on the tape, Heinsohn makes another running hook shot. And at 15:25 on the tape, Havliceck feeds Heinsohn for a reverse layup, and the Celtics have blown the game open by a score of 73-60. At 16:35 on the tape, it's all going the Celtics' way. Frank Ramsey's jumper from the top of the key hits the rim, bounces up high, and falls back in through the net. 75-60 Celtics. It's been a disastrous third quarter for the Warriors. The Celtics have gone on a 28-8 run. Heinsohn has done the most damage with 15 points in the quarter. Wilt makes 2 baskets in the final minute of the period, and the third quarter ends with the score Celtics 76, Warriors 64. The Celtics maintained their lead over the opening 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. Plays like the one John Havlicek made kept the Celtics in front. At the 24-minute mark on the tape, watch Havlicek's driving layup early in the fourth quarter, in which he changes his shot in midair and throws up a seemingly wild scoop that catches all net on the way down. It's one of the great baskets of the series. Continue watching the tape there and see Warriors coach Alex Hannum turn his head and down and away in despair at Havlicek's shot. With just over 5 minutes to play, the Celtics still lead by 11 at 90-79. Then, Guy Rodgers leads a spirited comeback late in the fourth quarter. The shortest man on the court had just 7 points through the first 3 quarters, but pours in 16 in the fourth quarter and dished out several assists, accounting for at least 22 Warriors points in the final quarter. At the 26:50 mark on the tape, after a Russell foul shot, Rodgers takes the inbound pass and drives the entire length of the court, goes around the back, spins, and makes a layup. At 29:10 on the tape, the scoreboard shows the Warriors have pulled to within 6 at 92-86 with 3:30 to go. At 31:38, Rodgers misses from the top of the key, but Wilt tips it in to pull the Warriors within 3 at 92-89. At 32:38, Rodgers drives and is fouled on his way to the hoop. His 2 foul shots bring the Warriors to within a point at 92-91. John Havlicek then makes a 25-foot jump shot to give Boston a 3-point lead at 94-91. The Warriors call timeout with 1 minute and 25 seconds to play. At 35:10 on the tape, Russell makes another great hustling play to knock the ball out of bounds off of Rodgers, and it's Celtics ball with a 3-point lead and just over 1 minute remaining. On the next possession, Heinsohn works the ball into Russell, who stuffs it, and the Celtics are up by 5 with under 50 seconds left. Rodgers then feeds Gary Phillips for a baseline jumper to cut it back to 3 at 96-93 with approximately 35 seconds to go. At the 36-minute mark on the tape, after the Celtics spent time running the clock, Frank Ramsey shoots a 20-foot jumper with about 15 seconds to go. He misses. Wilt rebounds and gets the ball to Rodgers, who races up court, weaves around two Celtics in the lane, and lays it in. It's 96-95 Celtics with about 10 seconds to go. But the Warriors fall asleep on defense at the most critical moment. At 36-10 on the tape, watch as Frank Ramsey inbounds the ball quickly to Sam Jones right after the Rodgers basket. Jones throws a football pass that travels 3/4 of the court to a streaking Havliceck, who is ahead of everyone. Hondo reaches low to catch the ball off the top of his shoes and doesn't even dribble before attempting a layup. Gary Phillips of the Warriors races back and tries to save the day. He manages to foul Havliceck and prevent the basket, but Havliceck calmly sinks both free throws and ices the game for Boston. Boston wins it 98-95. The Warriors had won 3 of the 4 quarters by a combined score of 75-62, but Boston's devastating 36-20 third quarter gave them a lead they were able to hold on to. The win put the Celtics ahead 3-1 as the two teams flew back across the country for Game 5 at Boston Garden 2 nights later on April 26, 1964. In the April 25th Oakland Tribune, Warriors coach Alex Heinsohn said, "It's a tough loss for us, but the series isn't over." Chamberlain added, "We've beaten them in the Boston Garden." That was true, but at a glance at the season schedule, it shows that the Warriors won just 1 of the 4 games at Boston Garden. More ominous for the Warriors was the fact that Oakland Tribune sports writer John Simmons noted in his article that he had observed Chamberlain's hand, quote, was badly bruised and swollen from a collision with the lower edge of the backboard in the second quarter. That may explain why Wilt only had 5 points in the fourth quarter of Game 4. In an AP article that appeared in the Fresno Bee and other papers across the country, Warriors coach Heinsohn attributed the Celtics' Game 4 victory to their defensive effort. Quote, "The big significance in the game was Boston's great defense. They were completely aggressive all of the time and never gave up pressing us." Bill Lee of the Hartford Courant praised Guy Rodgers for his valiant fourth quarter play in Game 4 that nearly won the game for the Warriors. He wrote, "Rodgers was something to see. He played with a cast covering his broken right thumb, and man, how he played. The injury was on his right hand, and he is a left-handed shooter, sure, but this doesn't account for the way he handled the ball and set up so many unbeatable plays." Warriors coach Alex Heinsohn agreed with Lee's assessment. Heinsohn told the Berkeley Gazette, "Rodgers was great. It was his best quarter of the year. The way Boston was playing Wilt, I told Guy he'd have to put his head down and drive and forget feeding Wilt. He did just that and almost pulled it out for us." Don Selby in the San Francisco Examiner had this to say about Rodgers' Game 4 finish. "With flashy Guy Rodgers setting the sizzling pace, the Warriors outscored their favored foes by 15-8 in the final 5 minutes. But it wasn't enough." And now, on to Game 5. Boston, April 27, 1964. Last night was Game 5 of the NBA Finals back here in the Boston Garden, where the Celtics took the opening 2 games of the series before the teams split their games in San Francisco. You can watch the highlights on a beautifully restored YouTube video that I have in the written version of this Substack article. Here's my commentary on the Game 5 highlights. At 13:36 on the tape, Russell and Chamberlain shake hands just prior to the opening tip-off to start Game 5. At 13:52, Wilt makes the game's first bucket with his unguardable turnaround fallaway jumper. At 14:25, Wilt skies to block a Satch Sanders layup. At 14:48, Wilt is fed the ball in the lane by Guy Rodgers and spins for a dipper dunk. At 15 minutes, Wilt nails another turnaround fallaway jumper to give the Warriors a 19-16 lead. Stay with the tape after Wilt's basket for the play of the game. Just seconds after Wilt's jumper, both big men, Russell and Chamberlain, are at the other end of the court. Russell drives to the basket, and Chamberlain is waiting for him. Chamberlain makes a spectacular block, pinning the ball to the backboard momentarily. He pulls the ball down and falls. The refs call for a jump ball. But more consequential is the fact that Chamberlain's left hand is hurt on the play. The San Francisco Examiner reported today that, quote, the rough action saw Chamberlain cut his left hand on a basket rim in the first period, for which he required treatment 3 times. Now comes one of the greatest sequences I've ever seen in an NBA Finals. If you don't watch anything else, watch the 13 seconds starting at 16:26 on the tape. At the 16:26 mark, Chamberlain grabs a rebound and whips the ball out to Guy Rodgers, who is already running at full speed, and drives the ball up court. As he races with the ball into the lane, Rodgers throws a blind pass over his shoulder to a chasing Nate Thurmond, who was running full tilt to the basket. How Rodgers knew Thurmond was there is the $64,000 question. The 6'11 Thurmond swoops to the hoop for a lay-in, but Bill Russell blocks the ball perfectly. Russell directs the blocked shot to Casey Jones as though he was throwing a well-timed outlet pass. Jones then throws a half-court pass on the run to a driving Tom Heinsohn, who makes a nifty reverse layup to avoid Wilt Chamberlain. Special note from the Sports Time Traveler. I interrupt this article to inform you that everyone who touched the ball in that 13-second sequence is in the Hall of Fame. Now back to 1964. The Warriors could have pulled to within 4, but instead the Celtics were suddenly up by 8. At 16:41 on the tape, a few moments later, Casey Jones drives the lane and alters his layup attempt to avoid the outstretched arm of Chamberlain. Wilt has effectively prevented the bucket, but Heinsohn swoops in behind Chamberlain for an offensive rebound and basket, and the Celtics retain their 8-point lead. At 17:25 on the tape, Rodgers drives the lane and tosses an alley-oop to Chamberlain. The Celtics lead by 1 point in the third quarter. At 17:35 on the tape, on the next play, Chamberlain goes outside to guard Sam Jones, and Russell wisely races toward the basket. With Chamberlain in his face, Jones finds Russell under the basket for a gift layup. It's 74-71 Celtics. Stay with the tape a moment as Russell races down court ahead of Chamberlain and receives a pass for a second gift layup. It's another case of hustle by Russell. At 18:28 on the tape, Rodgers drives straight down the lane and Russell blocks his layup. At 18:43, Rodgers feeds Chamberlain, who scores while being double-teamed. It's 101-99 Celtics with less than a minute to play. At 18:50 on the tape, Heinsohn drives to the basket, and Wilt forces him to miss his layup. But Russell is there for the rebound and putback to make it 103-99 with 12 seconds left. Russell's score brings the house down, as Celtics fans know their team is about to win another title. It was the final crushing blow to the Warriors. At 19:40 on the tape, Celtics fans stream onto the court to celebrate as the game ends with the Celtics up 105-99. The fans hoist several Boston players up in the air, including Russell and Coach Red Auerbach, and parade them around the court. Postscript. The Celtics' victory was of enormous significance. It marked their 6th consecutive NBA title, and that broke the tie the Celtics had been in since last year when they recorded their 5th straight title. The Yankees had won 5 straight World Series from 1949 to 1953, and the Montreal Canadiens had won 5 consecutive Stanley Cups from 1956 to 1960, but no major American pro sports team had ever won 6 straight championships until this moment. Thanks for reading, and please share the Sports Time Traveler with a friend.